Dead dolphins, 9 of them dragged back to shore in 36 hours, and red tide might be to blame.
As President Trump's Space Force awaits congressional approval, his campaign is already looking for a logo. But first tonight, a bombshell claim about Russian hacking now has Florida's top election official demanding answers. I'm Katie McCall.
And I'm Carolina Leeds. Senator Bill Nelson made the statement at a campaign event. He said Russian hackers have penetrated some of Florida's voter registration systems. Nelson went on to say the Russians now have free reign to move about certain counties' election systems. Nightside's Grady Trimble joins me now. Grady, where's the proof?
Well, that's what's so concerning, Carolina. When pressed for evidence, Nelson said the info he has from the Senate Intelligence Committee is classified, so he wouldn't deliver more about that. So if senators know something Florida's Secretary of State doesn't, the secretary wants to hear from them now.
Senator Bill Nelson's allegation of Russian hacking has caused mass confusion.
I can tell you that I have no evidence here.
From Hillsborough's Supervisor of Elections all the way up to Florida's Secretary of State, Ken Detzner.
Detzner sent this letter to the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee demanding proof to support Nelson's claims. The senator saying the Russians are in Florida's elections records.
Let me be clear, Detzner's letter says. This is a very serious charge made in a public setting without any evidence, details, or any prior communication to state or local election officials in Florida. In a statement, Nelson says, "For months, Senator Marco Rubio and I have been warning Florida's elections officials about the threat they face and urging them to reach out to the federal government for help."
Nelson sent us this letter dated July 2nd and signed by him and Rubio. It cites Senate Intelligence Committee findings that Russian hackers accessed voter databases, and it mentions the possibility that additional activity hadn't yet been uncovered.
Good morning, I'm Ken Detzner.
Still, the Florida Department of State says it has zero information to support Nelson's recent statement. Nothing from the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, or FDLE corroborates it either. Nelson's allegation of Russian meddling centers on voter rolls, the idea that some people will show up on election day only to be told they're not registered, creating chaos. Hillsborough's Supervisor of Elections says it's important to note the tabulation machines that actually count your vote operate independently from other election servers.
Florida's Secretary of State is asking the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee to respond by Monday when early voting starts in Florida. Election officials across the state have spent millions of dollars since 2016 to make sure our elections are secure.
And Grady, we have not yet heard from Senator Rubio about all of this.
Right, we reached out to him, and of course I'll let you know as soon as I get a response.
All right, thank you, Grady.
Well, scenes like this one are starting to become familiar, but of course, no less difficult to look at. 9 dolphins have been found dead in just the last 3 days. 3 dead dolphins were picked up today in the waters off Siesta Key and Cedar Key. 6 dead turtles were also found there, bringing the total to more than 250 dead turtles so far. More than 80 tons of fish that have been removed from beaches on Sarasota up to Holmes Beach. And moat scientists are confident that all of these animals have died from red tide. And with no end to this red tide bloom in sight, there are things you can do to help animals in trouble before it's too late.
Nightside Sarah Rosario shows you the rescue efforts that are now underway.
People like Ellen Lane are canceling weekend plans after seeing videos like this of dead dolphins and manatees.
Much like we started canceling one after the other. No, can't take the babies, can't risk it.
Right now, only small amounts of red tide are being found in Pinellas County. But if a dolphin or another sea creature finds itself in trouble, crews from the Clearwater Marine Aquarium would rush to save it, although it's not always known what's making the animal sick.
If we are dealing with a red tide event or a red tide case, we may not know it then during the rescue. That won't be known till weeks later.
The Clearwater Marine Aquarium relies on beachgoers, boaters, and others in the water to find animals in distress. So far, they've only saved manatees from red tide. With dolphins possibly at risk, Clearwater crews are ready to respond to calls.
If you find a dolphin or a manatee stranded here on the beach, that's an obvious sign that it's in distress. And while you may want to help it, it's important to stay away. Call a professional. That's when Clearwater Marine Aquarium steps in to help.
It's important to not push the animals back into the water. Oftentimes they'll end up restranding and we may not know where they restrand.
Nursing them back to health could take months. The good news is the Florida Wildlife Commission says the low concentration of red tide found in Pinellas likely won't move north, keeping wildlife on these beaches safe and beachgoers happy.
Lifelong Florida folks are just really devastated by this.
Sarah Rosario, 10 News.
Clearwater Marine Aquarium says it's not out actively searching for animals in trouble, but workers are ready to help any animal if you report them. We have put CMA's contact information on our free 10 News app, and we've also set up a website to answer your red tide questions. That's at WTSP.com/red tide. There you can find resources and the latest maps.
I'm with Alex Miranda. Space Force is official. So what exactly does that mean?
Well, it would be the sixth branch of the U.S. military, and if approved by Congress, the Space Force would go live in 2020.
Vice President Pence traveled to the Pentagon to unveil a plan for creating Space Force. The proposed new branch of the military would protect U.S. interests in space, including this $250 million GPS satellite, integral to the way the military fights and how Americans live.
Our adversaries have transformed space into a warfighting domain already, and the United States will not shrink from this challenge.
The Department of Defense says Russia and China have developed anti-satellite weapons. In 2007, China created this vast debris field by shooting down one of its own weather satellites.
What was once peaceful and uncontested is now crowded and adversarial.
President Trump first announced the plans in June and today tweeted, "Space Force all the way." Defense Secretary Jim Mattis, who had previously opposed a new branch of the military, released a 15-page report detailing how the Space Force would be structured. A 4-star officer would lead the Space Force, which would include an elite group of warfighters called the Space Operations Force. A civilian would serve as Assistant Secretary of Defense for Space, and the Space Development Agency would focus on new technology for the fight in space. The Vice President says the Trump administration is working to build bipartisan support for the plan.
So the reaction out there to Space Force is really mixed.
It is, yeah. Opponents say there's no need for more bureaucracy for work members of the Air Force are actually already doing. Proponents argue the Air Force is not able to give space the attention and the money that it deserves. Now, while the debate rages on, President Trump's administration is asking you to vote on the new Space Force logo. The president's campaign manager sent this email to supporters. Take a look. The red logo in the upper left actually looks very similar to the NASA logo. Now, the logo will be used on Space Force merchandise if, that's a big if, Congress approves the program.
Yeah, so the logo is out there for you to vote on, even though the agency does not yet exist, right?
Right,
That's
but it
the
may.
deal.
Yeah.
All right, Alex, thank you.
Congress.
Thanks.
New photos show cracks on a South Florida bridge days before it collapsed. The National Transportation Safety Board says the cracks were found when the Florida International University walkway was lifted into place. That bridge collapsed on March 15th, killing 6 people. So far, the NTSB has interviewed employees from 8 different organizations involved. The agency is still trying to figure out exactly what caused the bridge to collapse.
Following several deaths, scuba divers will now have to complete a few extra steps before diving in the infamous Eagle's Nest cave near Weeki Wachee. All divers will now have to register with FWC before diving at Eagle's Nest or anywhere in the Chatsworth Wildlife Management Area. Registration is free and it's online, so you'll have to show a copy of it before you can dive there. The registration also serves as acknowledgement of the risks that come with cave diving, and it releases the park of any liability. 2 people have died at Eagle's Nest this year. At least 13 have died since the 1980s. And we're staying on top of tonight's other big stories from around the country.
A massive environmental cleanup is underway in Polk County after about 10,000 gallons of used cooking oil was found illegally dumped in Davenport. The sheriff's office says a company hired to dispose of the oil for restaurants is responsible, but the driver arrested for dumping the sludge says he was required to do it to keep his job and save the company money. The company has not commented.
11 months after Hurricane Maria ripped through Puerto Rico, a new government report says there were 1,400 more deaths than normal in the 4 months after the storm. But the Puerto Rican government says those deaths may or may not be attributable to Maria. Various reports have put the storm's death toll from just over 1,100 to more than 4,600.
The FDA is voluntarily recalling a possibly contaminated nasal spray. The product is the half-ounce bottle of CVS Health 12-hour sinus relief nasal mist. The bacteria found in the spray could be life-threatening to people with certain medical conditions like cystic fibrosis.
Despite what you heard, Crocs Shoes says it's not going out of business.
Not one, not two, but three quarterbacks impressed for the Bucs in their preseason opening win over the Miami Dolphins. We are live in Miami with reaction coming up in sports.
When severe weather threatens, help us keep you safe. Send to TAG.
I'm with Alex Miranda. Alex, there was a rumor going around that Crocs is going out of business. A lot of people panicking. But you found out there's more to this story, a lot more.
Yeah, a lot of the headlines made it look that way. But whether you like them or not, we know some people love Crocs. We know some people don't love Crocs.
Right.
They are here to stay.
Okay.
The company is still profitable. It's just closing the last of its company-owned factories. And most Crocs are already made in factories they don't own anyway. Yeah. They're also focusing on online sales. So yeah, some of those stores are going to be closing as well. It's all in an effort to cut costs and boost earnings. In a statement, the company said they will continue to innovate, design, and produce the most comfortable shoes in the world.
Keyword comfort. We have some people here who said they are not fans of their spouses wearing said footwear, but we want you to know that we think that's okay.
They are the most comfortable. And you know, they just announced the Crocs high heels, which were flying off the shelves.
And you know, those sound very comfortable. I mean, Catalina, Bobby, you know?
Well, I just want to know if Crocs are good for this weather. I've never put a pair on. No, like the holes in them, they look sweaty to me because it looks like plastic. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've tended to shy away from heels in my older age. So I was intrigued when those Crocs came out.
You know, you tempted me. Now I have to like buy you a pair. And have
all right,
you
you can give me an ankle brace and some crutches too, because that ain't going to work out well if I wear those. All right, guys, I want to talk real fast about the hurricane forecast from NOAA. It was issued today. They have lowered their expectation of the number of storms. It's a great thing, obviously, and we've been talking about how there's been so many conditions out there that are hampering the development of storms. They say about 9 to 13 storms, 4 to 7 of those hurricanes, and perhaps 0 of those major Category 3 or higher ones, but it only takes one storm. So it's kind of good news in that they're seeing a lot of things out there that could keep storms from forming. One thing is El Nino developing. There's about a 65% chance that develops by fall. So August, September, parts of October, but especially September, big time months for hurricanes. That's getting close to fall, and that would be nice if we get El Nino because that tends to limit the number of storms with wind shear. Cooler than normal water out there and more wind shear, of course, that we've already been seeing, plus drier, stable air. There's the packet of cooler water right there. This just came in. Some of this has started to warm up a little bit, but that's really cool for this time of the year. So that cuts down on the energy needed to make storms. Look at all the wind shear that's been across the Caribbean. In the Atlantic, it's kind of gone on and off, you know, and that'll happen. And there's actually a wave that just came off of the African coast now that we'll have to watch, but that's pretty far south. And you can see how just more shear is going to be out there over that development area. And then this is the picture from today. This is Saharan dust. And you can really see it across the Caribbean. We had some here. In fact, it's starting to thin out a little bit for us. We'll continue to do so for tomorrow. But there and even out there, that air, it sinks. That dust sinks a little bit. That's very stable air. It's hard to make big-time thunderstorms. Now, we do have a storm on the map. Well, the remnants of one, Debbie, over 2,500 miles away from us, way out in the middle of nowhere. Nothing for us to worry about right now. So good news there. 92 on the temperature gauge today in Tampa, a little bit above average. You can see this morning we're about 79 degrees. We are going to stay warm in the mornings because we've got winds out of the west-northwest at 3 miles per hour. Coming in off that water, it's in the upper 80s. 73-degree dew point. It's going to be muggy. Radar is dry out there, no rain this evening. We will watch for an isolated shower early tomorrow morning along the coast, mainly north of I-4, but I think we're looking pretty good. And I basically think that we're going to end up with that typical onshore flow, which means low 80s along the coast for lows. Yeah, tomorrow morning, mid 70s inland, and then we're right back up to near 90 degrees in the afternoon. The bus stop forecast, guys. Look at that, getting the dust off of it. 82 in the morning, that's near the coast. We do have a 10% chance, 10 to 20% chance for a shower in the morning right at the coast. 30% at recess, which is about noon or so, and then about a 30% chance as those kids get off the bus in the afternoon, especially if you live along and east of I-75. That'll be the best timing for rain. Tampa, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., best timing for rain. Rain chance goes to 40% for tomorrow. 7-day forecast shows 40% on Saturday and Sunday. The pattern stays the same. Onshore winds, so a few isolated showers in the morning, better chance along the coast midday, better chance for storms inland, east of I-75 after 2 p.m. each afternoon. All right, guys, don't forget you can catch our forecast on the radio. You can hear it on 105.5 The Dove, 107.3 The Eagle, Magic 94.9, and Hitland 106.9 FM.
Now, from your Suncoast Hyundai dealers, this is 10 Sports.
Two quarterbacks better than one. At least that was the case tonight in Miami. Ryan Fitzpatrick strong against the Dolphins, and Jameis Winston bottling some of that magic as the Bucs win 26-24 in their preseason opener. Now, it's not a quarterback battle, but Winston and Fitzpatrick are going to be compared for at least the next 2 months. We got our own 1-2 punch. Ryan Bass joining me live at Hard Rock Stadium. Ryan, you saw him up close and personal. Which of the two QBs impressed you more?
Hey, Justin, don't forget about Ryan Griffin, okay? 20 of 26, a game-winning drive here in the fourth quarter. Ryan Fitzpatrick, who knew he was the second coming of Michael Vick, by the way. And, that Jameis guy, he was pretty good as well. Didn't look as good as me in this Miami Vice suit, though, I got to tell you that.
Easy guy. Get ahead of yourself. Winston, I'm going to go ahead and give the nod here because he ran with those second-teamers. Fitzpatrick entering his 14th season. He's going to start the first 3 games while Winston serves his suspension in. This is what Fitz can do, spread the ball around. He'll get it out quick, at times takes too many risks, but against the Dolphins, it was all money. D-Jax, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, all involved in the offense. Fitzpatrick, 2 series, 1 led to a rushing touchdown, 6 of 8, 55 yards, first team offense, sharp. Like Ryan's suit, or at least he thinks so. Jameis Winston turned with the second team. However, he did have one of his favorites, Cam Brate, out there with him. Dirk Cutter giving Jameis a target he can rely on. Winston throwing darts, 11 of 13, 102. Both QBs good. It's old hat for Ryan Fitzpatrick.
It's a lot more comfortable, and a lot of it is just repetition. I can always relate one offense to another, and there's similar things from everywhere I've been to each offense, but just in terms of the command of the offense, I feel a lot more comfortable this year than last.
It's just great to play against another team. We work so hard against these guys week in and week out, but it was good to face another team.
Those quarterbacks not the only dominant duo for the Buccaneers tonight. This team ranked 27th last year, Ryan, in rushing. However, Peyton Barber, Ronald Jones putting that and the Dolphins in the rearview mirror tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good trivia question down the road. Who led the Buccaneers in rushing in both 2016 and 2017? And the answer to that question would be Peyton Barber. Really unlikely, but tonight, Justin, he looked like a number 1 running back. Granted, he only got 5 carries, but on that opening drive for the Buccaneers, went in and got that touchdown, that 4-yard touchdown for the Bucs to put them on the scoreboard. It seemed to me like Peyton Barber was trying to establish himself and answer the critics that he is the number 1 guy for this team at running back. Now, Ronald Jones, the rookie, certainly looked good as well as the lights turn off here at Hard Rock Stadium. As for the cornerbacks, they also impressed me as well, specifically the rookies. Vernon Hargreaves left this game with a groin injury. Dirk Cutter said he's going to be okay, but Carlton Davis and MJ Stewart really stepped up in his absence. Remember, Brent Grimes wasn't playing in this game either. Those 2 rookies combined with Jordan Whitehead, the other rookie at safety, they all played extremely well in this preseason opener. Dirk Cutter was certainly pleased with what he saw from the first-year guys.
Those 2 guys both compete hard, and this was really the first look we've gotten we just haven't seen much of Whitehead, and I thought he did a good job. I thought all three of those rookie DBs really showed up. I'm really proud of how they competed.
I asked Barber post-game if he was trying to make a statement as far as the running backs are concerned, and he said, yeah, I want to prove I'm the number one guy. Now, not all things were great in this preseason opener for the Dolphins, for the Bucs, I should say. Remember, Chandler Catanzaro, he missed the extra point, got a field goal blocked, but Dirk Cutter did say post-game, Justin, that at least we got the missed extra point out of the way. The Bucs have a ton of kicking troubles they did last year. They hope that doesn't carry over through the rest of the preseason, Jay.
All right, you can't forget Cat also with the game-winning field goal in this one. The lights going off on you at Hard Rock. They're also going to go off on you tonight in Miami because don't forget you got to be back here tomorrow to anchor. Don't get too crazy. Out into 3.
See you then, buddy.
5. Ryan Bass reporting live from Hard Rock Stadium. The rookies getting all the love tonight. You had Carlton Davis, MJ Stewart, Howard as well. Jake Bowers, not impressed. He's a rook as well for the Rays. It might be the best in the Bay Area because remember, he's doing it when it counts. Rays hosting the Orioles at the Trop. Down 4-3, 2 outs in the 7th. Rake Bowers. Man, he's made the jump to the majors seamless. Delivers the game-winning 2-run RBI. Give him 33 in 55 games. Rays winners like the Bucs, 5-4.
It is getting closer to 11:30. Are your kids still awake? I hope not. All right, so don't worry. Mickey Mouse wants to come to your rescue. He is offering to help send your kids to bed.
Hiya, pal. It's me, Mickey Mouse. Oh, I sure am glad you called. Gosh, it must be getting close to your bedtime.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Mothers everywhere are rejoicing.
So the Disney Sleep Hotline is free and available right now. Mickey Mouse and other beloved Disney characters are wishing kids sweet dreams before bed in a recorded phone message. The number is 877-7-MICKEY.
How many people do you think are going to try that tomorrow? Especially with going back to school, like anything to get your kids ready for that.
That's the
like
hard
it's
thing
not
to
my idea.
transition.
You heard Mickey. You know.
Listen to the big man.
Yeah. The Rays had a very special guest at the Trop for tonight's ceremonial first pitch. That's 8-year-old Haley Dawson right there. And on her arm is a 3D printed hand. How cool is that?
Amazing.
Yeah, and look at her throw, right? Haley was born with a rare birth defect called Poland syndrome, which left her hand underdeveloped. Well, now she is on a mission to throw out the first pitch at all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums. Her mom says it's all about drawing attention to Poland syndrome.
Over 99% of the people I talk to, they don't know what it is until I talk about it. And because it's a rare birth defect, not everybody knows about it. There's not a national organization.
Yeah, get this. Haley's mom says one man who reached out to her was 51 years old. He had the same syndrome as Haley and had no idea what it was until he saw a story about it. His own syndrome. Yeah, isn't that fantastic? By the way, the Trop was Haley's 26th stadium. She only has 4 left to go.
Well, now the whole country knows how super strong she is and how talented she is.
And
It's
one
amazing. I
stadium
love
at
it.
a time, she's letting people know. Great, great work.
Love it. Good job, Haley.
Good night.